These fiends must die.
Ted, what are you doing?
I am a blood hunter, with fiends as my sworn enemy.
Dude, you're taking this whole role-playing thing way out of hand. Let's just talk about the best race to play a blood hunter for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Hey, maybe this is your first time hanging out in Ted's basement with us. It's a place where we like to discuss news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Sometimes we even play other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to tune to that notification bell.
Alright, so we're going to be discussing and talking about the Blood Hunter, Matt Mercer's creation. It's he made it for Vin Diesel to play in like this really condensed game of Dungeons and Dragons. They had to do it in like 20-30 minutes or something ridiculous.
Really short, really it was a fun game. I did watch it. Came out a while ago.
So the character class is a mishmash of two different things. The last Witch Hunter movie, as well as the Witcher video game series. So that's where Matt Mercer drew his inspiration from. We talked about these way back when, but now we're going to actually go, since it's on D&D Beyond, we're going to take a look at it and go, well, if you want to play a Blood Hunter, what race is the best race to play? So we break this down by the stats, we break it down by theme, we break it down by features, and then we pick our top 3 picks for playing a Blood Hunter.
So, as we mentioned, this is on D&D Beyond, so that's a perfect transition into saying D&D Beyond is the sponsor for this particular video. If you happen to be like us and you love having all of that amazing database at your disposal, then I highly recommend you checking out D&D Beyond. It makes making characters, prepping sessions so much easier, so much better.
But not only that, they also have a bunch of free features, like everything on the SRD is in that database that you can access for free. They have videos, they have articles. So D&D Beyond is a great resource in place just to hang out if you love Dungeons & Dragons. We'll have a link down in the description.
All right, so you said we're going to break this down into those 3 different categories. So I guess we're going to start off with stats first.
We are, and it's really tough with the Blood Hunter because you need to either pick strength or dex, depending on what kind of weapons you're fighting with, melee or ranged, or whether you're using finesse weapons or whatever. But then a lot of their abilities are keyed off of wisdom. Then there's also the factor of they hurt themselves to do things, so you're going to need hit points. So constitution is also very important as well. So we are looking at strength or dex based, then wisdom and con. They need to get bonuses to at least 2 of those stats to be viable.
So that does limit your options quite considerably, but we're not looking at bonuses to all 3. We're going to look at pairing it off depending. So first off, I guess we should talk about the general disclaimer when we do these types of videos. It's been a while, but races that are good for just about everything, we just put that disclaimer out there. So your half-elf, your human, your Simic Hybrid, and your Warforged all get generic bonuses that you can put a stat wherever you want. Therefore, they are good at everything. So we put that disclaimer out there.
All right, going into the player's handbook, there are basically 4 races in there, and also we're going to mention the sub races that go with them. You may not actually find some of these sub races in that particular book, but the main race is. If you go with dwarf, all the dwarves get the necessary stat bonuses to help them. And then for elves, you have sea elf, Shadar-kai, and wood elf. Wood elf being the only one that's actually in the player's handbook, but they're going to get a nice mix of those bonuses according to those 4 stats.
We also have halfling. Again, Ghostwise is in a different book, and Stout, as well as your half-orc. All of the races that we mentioned get those necessary bonuses.
When we go into the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, we get 3 races. You get the Aarakocra and the Goliath.
You get the Genasi, but you want to look at air, earth, and water as your subtypes.
Volo's Guide to Monsters is going to give us a whopping 5. We've got Furbolg and
here, that definitely falls into the necessary stat split.
So Eberron, Rising from the Last War, gives us 2. And that is going to be the Eberron Orc, which is actually different than the Volo's Guide to Monsters Orc.
We also have the Shifter, and specifically with the Beast Hide and Wildhunt.
Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is going to give us 3 races to choose from. The Centaur and the Loxodon are great choices.
As is the Minotaur.
All right, so now we're going to go into features that are going to make us better at being a blood hunter. Things that are going to make us being a blood hunter. Anything that helps with preservation of hit points due to that need to harm ourselves. And also things that make us better hunters, in my opinion, are going to add to, our blood hunter kit.
So whether it be, the certain spell selection, skill selection, or just the natural abilities of that particular race. First and foremost, the Hill Dwarf with that extra hit point per level, definitely useful in the long run with being able to preserve those hit points.
Half-Orc and Goliath both have damage mitigation, which is going to be super helpful, whether reducing the damage or when you get dropped to 0, getting back up, both of them are key.
So the Aasimar Scourge, gives you more abilities that kind of mimic what the Blood Hunter does. So you can, when you release your aura, you can hurt yourself to hurt others. That definitely fits the theme of the Blood Hunter. And when we look at Lizard Folk, they are, pretty natural hunters by themselves, and they come with survival skills as well as the ability to, harness stuff from their enemies. To me, that definitely fits that Blood Hunter theme.
And finally, we have the Shifter. Many Shifters kind of resemble, lycanthropes in some ways, and Lycan is one of the Blood Hunter subclasses, so that just seems to be a natural fit to me.
So next we move on to our themes, and, this is broken down into blood hunters are hunters of other creatures. So is there anything in the lore of the race where racially they are going after, something? Are they hunters by themselves? We gotta theme it from that perspective.
The Aasimar is a perfect fit for this because they're angelic creatures, they're holy creatures. The idea that they would be hunting monsters, and some of them may even go down that dark path of fighting fire with fire, to me makes a lot of sense. We even mentioned the Scourge earlier, where they are so vengeful, they have the ability to damage themselves, to damage their enemies even more.
The Duragar subrace of dwarf have a history of being enslaved by the Mind Flayers, and already an unnatural creature by their perspective. So they are hunters of those to a certain degree, and from that lore, they definitely fit well into the blood hunter category.
Also going along the lines of the Duergar, we also have 2 different elf subraces. The Shadar-kai and the Drow. And also I look at them as being more anti-hero-ish along with the Duergar. And the Blood Hunter to me is very much your anti-hero type character.
I would have to agree with that. Next up is going to be your Gith-Yankee. They follow Vlaakith, and they go on these Rakmas, these hunting parties, and they go after whatever it is that is their chosen prey.
Mind Flayers. It's always Mind Flayers.
Yeah. So when they go after these Mind Flayers, they have these hunting parties. That fits very well into that Blood Hunter theme.
The Eberron Orc has a tradition with an organization called the Gatekeepers. These are literally beings that are meant to keep out, aberrations, the realm of Zariat, to protect, the world of Eberron. So, I could definitely see one of these going over the deep end and going too far and start channeling and harnessing the powers of their enemies to fight their enemies.
So we already mentioned that the shifters, kind of look like lycanthropes. Well, the Wildhunt, it's in their name. They are hunters. They roam, they hunt. So I got to give them the theme as well.
Simic hybrids are literally beings, humanoids that have been mutated. So to go a step further and have them be the order of the mutant and mutate themselves even more to do what they do, totally made sense to me.
So now, that is the lot. We've gone through all of them. We've given you the theme. We've given you the features. We've given you the stats. Now it's time to pick, the top 3. What races make the best blood hunters based on all of that criteria?
All right, so number 3 is going to be the Simic Hybrid. The idea that mutants that mutate themselves even further is a fun idea, and we had to put it on the list.
The elf, the Shadar-kai, I feel fits for our number 2 spot. All of the things that they get, racially, all of the, the themes for their lore. I think there's very few things that could really match that.
Lastly, our number 1 pick, though, is the Wildhunt shifter, because they're the preternatural hunter of all of the shifters. They get the stats that are going to help them. They can shift, which gives them temporary hit points, which is going to help. For all those reasons, we believe the Wildhunt shifter would make an excellent blood hunter, and it probably wouldn't even matter which one of the subclasses you went with.
The question is who do you think is going to make the best blood hunter? Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? Comment sections down below.
Before we head on out, let me take a moment to invite you to join Nerdarchy, the adventuring party over on Patreon. What can I expect there, Ted?
We're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that both players and DMs alike can drop right into their game.
But that's not all. We do a monthly giveaway, and our patrons are automatically entered.
We do weekly hangouts with our patrons and more.
So quest on down to the description, join the Nerdarchy adventuring party, and until next time,
Stay nerdy.